So welcome back. We are in the environmental lab back here at ACES. We tested a salty brine to simulate ocean conditions, test for temperature and humidity checks, all the normal stuff you do when you've got aluminum parts and you try to want to make sure that they last a very long time. So in this behind the scenes, as you know, a couple years ago, I took a throttle body apart, and now I'm going to put one back together. But this is not just any throttle body. This is the Killshot Pro. It has got some extra things in it. It's a different size. It's got a fuel sensor in it. And we already did a little bit of work. So, you know, we went through the whole CNC process and all of that. And we went into the assembly lab. I didn't want to hold up production, so we didn't want to set up a whole camera crew. So I went ahead and pressed in these bearings right here for the actual shafts themselves. And went ahead and threw a sensor in here. Just because it's such a tight fit, it goes in just one way. I mean, you can get it wrong, but yeah, it's hard to do it. But it fits tight, and we'll show this guy right here. This is a custom cast part, and it has our fuel pressure transducer on it with a little bit of custom machining, and it actually inserts into the throttle body like this as well. So we'll set that off to the side real quick. Let's see here. Already put the screws in it. Already press fit everything in. So we got this pin right here to hold the spring, the retainer spring for the secondaries. We already got these installed. Everything, the hardware part for the boost reference right here. If you're going to do a supercharged or a draw-through application, it's already installed. And we put a couple fat fuel O-rings right here for the transfer tube. You notice in this one, the transfer tube is a little bit lower. For those of you out there who caught our SEMA event when I actually released this product to the public, let you know that we're going to be releasing this in the next few months. Yeah, it's a different shape, and a lot of that has to do with suggestions that you've asked us to do. You know, shrink up the fuel bowl some, move them around a little bit, move the fuel log down lower, put the fuel fittings in the middle of the bowl to help more and more people be able to put their factory air cleaner or their aftermarket air cleaner on their car, and giving them more options. Because right now, you got to run a pretty fat spacer on top and something with a flat bottom on it to make sure to clear everything. So with that, let's start sliding this thing together. Right here, I've got the primary linkage. So it's stainless in construction, very, very corrosion resistant. And the screw holes themselves, they're a bit augmented. So when you throw a screw in there, after it hits its calibrated torque spec, which is, you know, I got a few of these things laying around, you know, it's in there. So if you go to take these screws back out, you can't reuse the screws. So caution doing that. But yeah, so got a throttle blade. It actually slips through the center of the shaft. I'll show you that right here. You line them up, just looks just like that. And these things are free floating in the throttle body to help prevent any kind of like binding. So they can kind of move out of their own way once you get everything adjusted appropriately. So bear with me 1 second. I like to use these right here, shiny side up. That way when I look down in the throttle bores, I just get to see myself. But yeah, there's a dull side right here and a shiny side right here. The deburring process we go through, sometimes you get tool marks and all that whatnot on there. So if you ever see your scratches on your throttle blades, don't pay it too much mind. It's just somebody sat there with a file and made sure it was the right dimensions for you. So let's get this in. Let's see. Oh, they literally float in here on these bearings. I mean, it just, see, nothing too wild. They just go right in here. All right, so anyways, we got this in here right now, and I had to put a couple springs on there, so I'll need a little bit of pliers. Not a big deal. I mean, this is a pretty easy process, nothing too crazy. You just have to get the right angle on there. And there we go. You got to watch your fingers when you're doing this, otherwise you'll nip yourself just a smidge. Anyways, there we go. See, it free floats. So now we're going to get the primary in, and we're going to stick the secondary in there. It just, nothing too wild. The spring loading, same thing. It just goes on this little hook down here, right about there. So we'll get that in. There we go. Click. There we go, primary, secondary. Now we're going to install a couple of these throttle blades. And like I said, I like them shiny side up. So they only go in one direction, really. So they sit in just like that. And let's see, let's get everything in here. That way we can verify we're not binding anything. Let's get this in here so I can show you on camera. It can be tricky getting the screws in there, but after you get them in and started, not a big deal. You see right there, just primary, see? As soon as I moved them, good to go. So we're looking good there. I'm going to start the screws in this. I like to start them by hand. That way, you know, I can make sure everything's aligned and then put the linkage in here on the side. When I get the linkage in, everything's going to be tied together, and then I can use my torque wrench to make sure that the throttle plates themselves are torqued to the appropriate value, and nothing's going to happen with that. So let me just start these in here. I'll stick it up here on its side. Let's see. You don't want to cross thread them because they kind of eat themselves on the way in already. That way they don't go anywhere. I'll tell you what. Let's see here. With these in, make sure they have all the proper clearances. Get them a little bit hand tight. You know, you want the blades to make sure that they got the proper gap all the way around, and there's nothing funny going on there. I'm so excited to make this video for you people because I took one apart, now I'm putting one back together, but we got to see the actual from casting to the machine shop and all of it. Couldn't show you the coating on it because that's a whole separate process done from an outside agency, and it's real chemically, and there's a lot of protective equipment that goes on with that, so we didn't want to inconvenience them any. Let's see what we got here. A few more screws here, and we're looking good. Yep, might have to fight it in. No worries. Takes me back to my aviation days. There we go. These are going in nice and square, no problems. So with this, on the linkage, I got a few more screws to put in, and we're going to actually tie the primary and secondary linkage together on this. Let's see, let's make sure they're all in. Looking good there. Retrieve my screw back. So we're looking good. 3 more to go. So with this new throttle body and the dimensions that are going to be different on it, you know, and the capabilities, because it is going to have extra ability. So with the built-in fuel pressure transducer, instead of us, you know, getting the fuel pressure transducer kit and putting it in line, some people don't like the look of it. You know, now with this already having it inside, it's just one thing off the list to add into your system. It's already there. And if you don't want to see the data, you can just unselect it in your handheld. But if you want to see the data, it's right there for you. Let's see here. 2 more. We're going to torque this thing and put the rest of this together. The only actual remotely hard part is making sure all the wiring underneath the fuel bowls are in a really good position before you tighten everything down so you don't pinch a wire or anything. But, I mean, they have operational checks after all this is done just to verify all the lights turn on, all the injectors click, and all the sensors do their job. Let's see. We are huge on quality at Aces. A lot of you, the people, had questions about our quality control and kind of what went into it, like what goes into it. So we figured, while I had the opportunity, we would walk through the whole thing from start to finish, where this thing was some ADC 12 powder in a big container to melted down to made a throttle body and just carried on through it. So let's get this linked together. Nothing wild here, just that, a washer and a pin. So I have to get it in there. There we go. Pair of pliers right fast. I know a few of you guys out there, you've actually taken apart the original Killshot before, just to, mess with the progressiveness of the linkage and everything. So let's see what we got here. Looking good. Ooh, very nice. So we got that there. Let's see. Now this is where we make adjustments. All right, I think we're looking good. We'll go ahead and put some torque to it and call it good. I think it breaks away at about 5 or so newton meters, but to say the least, you can tell it's doing something. It actually feels a little bit funny when the screw goes in the last bit. All right, we'll call that good. Real nice. So we got that one there. All the springs are on, linkage is on. Now it's time to put this on. Now this right here is a PC board. So it's got the PIC connector on the side. And this is its cover. So with this right here, it's got the injectors, the TMAP sensor, the TPS sensor. It's got the plug for the IAC down here, and it's got the plug for the fuel pressure sensor as well. So we just need to make sure we're coordinating it correctly and get it in the right orientation for this. We just got to make sure it's clearing all the sharp edges over here and there's nothing pinching. Look at that. Beautiful, right? Oh, I forgot the TPS wires. There we go. They go down here. So we got TPS hanging out here. Obviously it goes over here. No worries. It's a little spring loaded. So we got the map sensor here, injector. Not a massive deal. So we can go ahead and actually get this map sensor in there like that and install it. There we go. Do that. That's about right. Same thing here. We got to get these oriented just right so they clear everything. And if you notice, this is an EV1 injector. So EV1 injectors in aftermarket throttle bodies is a very difficult thing to do to make the connector because it's a big reduced connector, but the way it holds itself in is very firm. I mean, that's not like super flexible rubber. It's not going to fall out. It's actually quite difficult to get the thing out. So it's in there. And for those of us who's done a lot of aftermarket throttle bodies before, we know that that is a risk factor of those connectors coming off. that's why we decided to go ahead and just change our connector style, because we can. Let's see here. Get this pushed in. You're doing these. Now these are 100 pound an hour each injectors. So you can see here we got all this looking real good, nice and tidy in there. No worries. So I'm gonna put this cover on, this bowl on. We're good to go. And let's see, make sure there's nothing in the way. Looking good, looking good. Let's see. We'll get these started with my fingers here, because I got a actual calibrated torque wrench over here I can just zap these in with and save myself a bunch of time, so you guys aren't sitting there listening to me wrenching. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah. Looking good there. All right. So we got that, and two different fuel bowl styles. We got one with a clearance for the IAC, which goes on this other side, and it's got the embossment right here for the fuel pressure sensor, which is an internal matter. So it's, you know, it kind of shares the fuel log here. Comes up through the bottom, and then the injector's on this side, so the fuel comes through this little crossover between these two injectors and hits both the injector and the sensor as well. Really cool design. I got to see the drawing early on. I was quite impressed with that. Big fan of it. So let's go ahead and put this other one on. Let's see. Make sure there's nothing funny going on here. The O-ring is installed. The injectors are in. The map sensor is in and tight. Let me remove this. Maybe not. I could probably sneak it around there. Yeah, we got it. Need to make sure everything lines up and just kind of massage it in. Is the best way to say that, because you don't want to ruin the O-rings. You want to make sure everything is aligned correctly. Otherwise, you have a little leak, or you have to get another O-ring, or you pinch a wire, and as soon as you plug it in, it gives you a headache. So let's get these in. There we go. Yes. Yes. This one is done up to maximum strength, I think. Probably when I was messing with it earlier. So we got the fuel bowl on. We got the side cover on. We can go ahead and do this TPS sensor. If you see here, it just has a slot. It slots right into the end of it. So you kind of back it up, and then it preloads in. Now, a lot of people noticed that from time to time, when you're opening these throttle blades all the way up, the TPS doesn't go all the way to 100. And that's because of that right there. It has to be preloaded just a smidge. So what happens is you'll go wide open on the throttle blades, and it actually stops because it runs out of range that they can recognize, because our system only really wants to know where 0 is. It doesn't really mind too much, you know, where 100% is, because it only looks at like throttle thresholds. So it has to be, let's see. All right, I'll back this up a little bit. There we go. There we go. I like having power tools. It is a win. So we're looking good there. This one has extra going on here. So you can see there is the fuel pressure sensor that goes right here like this. It's kind of a tight fit. We got the injector that goes here. No big deal. Still, wonderful tight fit with that nice EV1 connector. I mean, just look at that. Big fan of that. Let's see. Let's get this other one in here and everything lined up. Make sure the wiring's looking good, nothing crazy. Now it's time for our IAC. So we got our IAC right here, and got to be mindful of what direction it's going. It just goes in. There's an orange O-ring right here, and there's the pin tool as well. This is a long shaft version of it. So let's see here. It's not too complicated. I mean, I'm happy that we get the opportunity to really to take these things apart for you. Because a lot of companies, they wouldn't be terribly interested about, taking apart a throttle body or putting one back together, or just sitting here at the table and just giving you information that a lot of people has asked us for, like, what's it look like inside? What kind of sensor you use? What kind of injectors are you using? So, I hope this helps. Or satisfies your curiosity. Another thing is, we're going to go run this one. Let's see. Let's get this here. Alrighty. Everything is plugged in. We got O-rings on everything. They're all lined up. Wiring harness is clearing everything. Same thing, we just got to get it and kind of massage it in. Once we get everything to line up correct, let's see, I'll just take this off first. That actually might help me out just a little bit. There we go. With the extra sensor in there, it's a little bit more difficult, but it does go. So kind of got to do everything at once on it. Yeah, there we go. Click. We're in, we're located. O-rings everywhere. Looking great. For those of you watching this, I appreciate you coming through this journey with me. Let's see. All right, the tooling. There we go. There we go. So, we've run out of things to install. Look at that. Look at this beauty. Nice and smooth. It went from being just a casting and a bunch of parts to it's a fully assembled, ready to go, be tested throttle body. So we're going to run this thing on an engine and see how it performs and make all the basic adjustments so that when it comes out of the box, it's closer to going for you, the people. And I do hope this helps. So let's, I'm going to grab a throttle body real quick and we're going to do a size comparison. So you see the new versus the old, and we'll walk through the handheld just a little bit as well. So I've double stacked a couple throttle bodies here. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of the older ones on the bottom here, the original Killshot, which we're not getting rid of this product. It's just that it's going to be different applications for different folks. So that's why we're adding the Pro as well. So you see there is it's actually shorter. So this will help people clear stuff like larger HEI distributor caps on, say for instance, 4.3 liter Chevy applications, if you're going to go that route, because it just, it doesn't really clear it on the original Killshot, but may clear it because I want to test one of these on that application. So shorten it up a little bit, and you see here this fuel rail, or this fuel log as it is, an internal fuel log, this transfer tube. We don't have fuel fittings on both sides of the throttle body. It's only on the face side right here. So you see we moved everything down a little bit, and because we moved it down and we had to drastically change the design of this, we had to lose a couple fuel fittings. Some people, not a big deal at all. Other folks, they'll want it on the other side, and they should look into the original Killshot. So we're not going to add more fittings in on that anytime soon. But that's because we're trying to make it compact. So when we try to make it compact, that way you get more of an idea. You see even the edges of the fuel bowl right here is chamfered, whereas these are really not. It just has a radius on the end for the fuel transfer tubes inside. So this right here is going to fit a lot more applications. And it's going to be, I kind of wonder how much of a drop base you can run on this. I've got some more research to do, I think. But pound for pound, they're the same height, other than, it's sitting funny on the table because it is shrunk up, so it makes the angle a little bit more extreme. but really close to being the same height, same top diameter, same CFM, but the actual annular discharge tubes inside are in a different location. They're still above the throttle plate, but in this one, the throttle plate's a little bit further down, and the actual discharges themselves are higher up in here, just a little bit. It actually helped with our airflow and the dynamic fuel atomization as it goes across the blades. So with the new Killshot Pro, you see here, this is something, this little green connector right here is something that this one doesn't have. So this one can only run on a 4150 single quad setup, just one. This one can have a primary and a secondary in a dual quad. So if you got somebody doing a dual quad, they'll probably run it setting like this and then run two of them together, and you have to run two pros. Now we will have an application for that that's going to meet a lot of people in the market, but one thing I want to do is not only take the time to install this combination on some kind of street driving, something with a small block and a cam and some ridiculous intake, and actually get good running driving data so I can make it start, I can make it idle, I can make it cruise, and I can make it wide open throttle within reason for the application I'm in on. Because when you go dual quad, you run into all kinds of funny little problems with, you know, air and fuel and all that, because it's very inefficient unless you're going all the way open throttle there. You got to all the way open, it's fine. You know, if you go to the cruise in, or you go to the drag strip and you're trying to get your car or your hot rod off the trailer, that thing is barely idling, but will go down the strip no problem. I want one that's going to be drivable. That way, you know, you just hit the key and go drive and just wide open throttle, you know, however you choose to use it. So with that, I mean, this is quite an advanced piece. It has a fuel pressure transducer inside of it. This one doesn't. It has to be external. This one has 2 fuel fittings. This one has 4, but different applications for different folks. I'm really fine with just having 2 because I only pick the one that I'm closest to. I don't put that much thought into it. I'm like, oh, look, a fuel fitting. I'll put it over here. Done. So, yeah, this right here is definitely an upgrade from this. This is good. This is affordable. This is affordable. Fantastic units. But with this newer generation throttle body comes more capabilities. And one of the capabilities is when we get into the handhelds. I've got a couple of handhelds I'm going to make a little separate video on. But this right here, this is the next generation handheld as well. So this is a high definition, really nice touch, better mounting, better connector handheld. So it even has a faster processor in it. And this is going to pair really nicely with this Killshot Pro because of all the extra capabilities it has, which will need a little bit more push when it comes to how much processor we're using in this application. So with that, let's talk about handhelds. Let me get rid of these throttle bodies. I'm going to get both my handhelds out, and we're going to look at both of them and go through a few menu options on this brand new one. So bear with me.
Hello, Aces fans. Little product behind the scenes here. We got the new Killshot HD. Now, the cool thing, I mean, Killshot, you know, this is what goes with the Pro's 5-inch handheld. The cool thing is this high definition display. You know, it has better mounting locations on the back. It's a little faster than the last one. It has a bigger processor in it. It does a really good job, and I like how the touchscreen works. So this right here, let's just hit a few buttons here. We'll go to tuning. I'll give you as an example of the thing. Let's say idle, right? It just instantly gets you right here in this stuff. Now, it scrolls nice and smooth. It has a smooth touch to it. So, not a problem. But this is the basic. You want to go to advanced, you just swipe over. Same thing. If you want to adjust like idle target speed, you can go in here into the table and just select one and then kind of click on it and then bring it up with your finger or bring it down with your finger like that. It's pretty sweet. As compared to before where you had to click on it and move it and you couldn't really see it and the touch screen would kind of move it around a little bit more cumbersome to do, but we improved that by making it to where you can just select something and just move it up or down appropriately. It's a lot easier to do it that way. Let's see. It still has all the good functionality, sensor data, all the normal stuff. But when it comes into it, I mean, it's faster, it's smoother, it has a high definition display. And as we advance these handhelds and whatnot, we're going to run into a lot more interesting capabilities of what we're doing with our displays. Now, I do have one of the previous generations right here, and as you can see, I mean, they're very close in size. This one's a little bit taller, but a little bit skinnier, so it's going to offer better mounting for what you're going to do with it. Also, with this newer one right here, it has a screw lug in the back. So when you are trying to mount it, if you got a camera mount style thread, same normal threading, nothing strange there, you know, the screws in the back, kind of like a GoPro mount would be. And actually, this is a lot lighter assembly than the previous generation. It was a bit heavier after you add the handheld and everything. So it's going to act a little bit better whenever you have it mounted to your windscreen or your dash or what have you not, even if you decide to use this suction cup mount. The other one is more like a kind of like a cell phone type mount where it clamps on there. But we wanted to do a thing for you, the people, because you asked us to just add a threaded port on the back. Now, with the updates on these handhelds, I mean, we're trying to look into every avenue of how we can best help you out. So with this, the older one, you know, it's a nice CAN cable, nothing funny. The actual cable itself is soldered into the back of the board, and you cannot remove it. On the newer ones, you can just unplug it. It's a 90-degree connector. It's a lot beefier. The actual pins in there are a little bit fatter, so it holds a lot more strain. So it can actually hang out in there. But if it's a situation that you needed to, you know, depending on your mounting, you need to actually unplug it, and you didn't want to fish all the cable back through, you can go this route. That's why we added this port in there. A few people asked for it. We said, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that on the next one. It's already back on. So it still has the update port in the top. It does have a more of a futuristic feel. You know, we had added a little bit more texturing on the actual display itself on the top and bottom just to give it a better physical feel and obviously more of a futuristic look because this is the next generation product when it comes to our 5-inch displays. Now we will go on and do 7-inch and various others with given time, but this is part of our HD series. This is going to be coupled with a lot of the Killshot Pro, like I said in the beginning of the video, and several other the next generation items that we're going to be doing just because you've asked. So a lot of it's very familiar when it comes to operation, but there's just a couple of nice things in there. I mean, even customization. The customization is very easy too. And you'll be able to kind of move some more things around in here and have more options for sensor data or, you know, miles per hour and what source it comes from versus RPM or what have you not. So yeah, just let's see what we got here. Vehicle speed source select, dash configuration, RPM. Oh yeah, that's right. You can select like how many units are being displayed. So if your vehicle is never going to see 8,000 RPMs, move it back, like right here, right? 8,000 RPMs. Let's just, you know, my old truck, this is maybe 5,700 on a great day. Now, with that, it's at 5,700 RPMs when this gauge right here. So just those little features, those little things that we wanted to bring you just to make it a little bit nicer for you. Some people want to see that gauge swing a little bit, that visual indication that you're really getting after it. Well, that's what I look for. So, you know, it's just a good feeling. So yeah, with the overall customization of the extra things you can do, the high definition nature of it, the processor in this thing is twice as fast as the one that's in this one. This is based off that next generation 64-bit architecture that we're going to be pushing out, and it's going to add a lot more capability. So you'll see a lot more internal RAM on here and internal memory for storage as well. So. And even on this one right here, it's probably just because it's an engineering model, but it actually tells you how much processor load's being done, how many frames per second it's actually showing as well. So interesting, very interesting. So anyways, I hope that gives you some good insight behind our new 5-inch dashes. I'm a big fan of these. As soon as they go into production, I'll probably acquire one for my own personal builds. I might put it on my old camper. I think that'll be a good update for it. But yeah. You the customer, you the people, we're doing it for you. So we'll be releasing a lot more information on this. You'll see a lot more actually like usage videos when we get closer to actually rolling this thing out onto the market officially, pairing it with, it'll probably be paired with the Killshot Pro first. because that's kind of what we designed it for. They're faster. This thing's faster. There's a lot more going on, a lot more network needed for it. So had to make it better display. Hope that helps.